With Souls-like games becoming more popular, a lot of gamers are like, man, the games are so cool, but they're too hard, and you're like afraid to play it and that sort of thing. And another one's coming out around the corner in September, which is Lies of P. But you come across some enemies and bosses and stuff, and you just get slapped, and you're just like, well, it's just not for me. And even those Souls games have a reputation for being like super hard, and I'm not saying they're not hard, but you're not giving yourself enough credit, and you can actually figure out ways to beat the bosses without even summoning help. Now, some bosses are like super hard, or people just really aren't that good, and you should summon help. I'm not shaming you for summoning help. But what I am saying, though, is ideally you overcome the challenges by yourself. That's where the games really shine, not simply because you're overcoming a challenge, but because it's your character and your build and your play interlocking with the enemies and the bosses, and you overcoming the challenges, rather than having someone there who's taking aggro and you're being opportunistic with your attacks and that sort of thing. It just feels better to overcome the challenges by yourself. What is the noob version of beating the hardest boss in the Lies of P demo? Is that possible? So I gave it a shot. Let's take a look at my gear and my build. So here you can see I have the Great Sword. It's one of the options at the start of the game. There's no modifications to it, and there's no upgrades to it. And the rest of the gear here I found in the demo with just some light exploration, finding the life amulet, the stamina amulet, and various defensive items that I found. And I didn't do a build that was very specific and specialized. I had the starting weapon. I literally put 1 point in vitality, 1 point in vigor, 1 point in capacity, and 1 point in motivity, which is basically like strength. That's it. I went down the line again. Vitality, vigor, capacity, motivity. Vitality, vigor, capacity, motivity. I just kept putting 1 point in each of them. Once I got capacity to 13, because I needed the extra capacity to carry heavier things, I then began to do the other 3 stats. And you can see I got 1 point across each of those and 1 more in vitality. Another good general rule of thumb is have a fat health bar. I mean, the games are hard, right? Keep your health bar big. The bigger health bar you have, the more mistakes that you can make consecutively. So here's the first attempt. Now, the key is to figure out the tempo. And anytime there's an attack that I don't know the timing to, I'm just going to block it. Because if you roll and get hit, or you just simply get hit, you're taking full damage. With the bigger weapon, it has better block properties. You take less damage, and you have the potential to recover part or all of that health. And over the course of the full battle, that health adds up. So we have these lunging attacks, and I don't know how far he comes forward. I don't know when it's going to hit, so I block everything. And anytime there is he does this crazy wind-up attack, I'm just going to run away. This is a lesser known strategy in Souls games, is you can just literally run away from enemies sometimes. Once you get a feel for the enemy attacks, you can then know when to turn around and reverse the aggression. So every time I block an attack, I try to do an attack back, at least one, to regain some of that life. Something else you want to consider is the fact that you have to have stamina to block attacks. So you don't want to block attacks and attack too much and deplete your stamina. And also when you block attacks, it makes your weapon break quicker. Now, one of the things you want to note too, when you use a heal and you have the temporary recoverable health, the heal will overwrite that health and that will be lost. It's a judgment call. Sometimes you don't care about that and you really have to have the heal. Other times you kind of want to wait to use the heal and then see if you can get a few hits in to regain some of that lost life. And I would say that 10 successful hits that recover health on the boss is equal roughly to a heal. So you can imagine yourself having an extra heal if you pull off about 10 successful hits. I make some space, I sharpen the weapon. Here I use my heal because it's just a little too close to death for comfort. Now here's an important moment. This is what I like to call a punish window. Now sometimes when enemies are open for a crit, if you hit them without a crit, it will interrupt the ability to do the crit. But other times when the enemies are very big, you can actually beat on them and they will stay in that position. Look for optimal punish combos before the crit. So here we do a light attack, then I do, I think it's called spin slash, twice, and then I do the crit. And there we did about 1700 damage. Right? So it's a pretty good amount of damage, that whole string that I did. And again, my weapon's not even upgraded. There you can see that when he changes into phase 2, I don't know the range of that electrical bubble. I do in real life. I'm pretending like I don't when I play in the game to show you what it looks like. So I just block. I'm always just tapping that block button and releasing it, tapping it and releasing it. Because remember, when you're holding the block button, your stamina regenerates very slowly. So we were doing well Now we're not doing so well. He's got about 40% of his life left, maybe 35%, and we're out of heals, and we're down to the bottom 25%. So not a successful run, most likely, but we've learned some things, and then we go down. Okay, it's fine. You know, we know what we signed up for. It's a Souls game. The question is, did we learn something? Can we improve our timings? And that sort of thing. So here we have attempt 2. One pattern we've noticed is that whenever he has these kind of big attacks or these lunging attacks, he has a pretty long wait period, a kind of a recovery animation. You can usually get in fully charged heavy attacks. Bigger and the heavier attack you do, the more you inflict the groggy status. There we got guard broke because our stamina was too low and we blocked. Then we just run away. You don't have to square up against that crazy attack. We can just literally run away. Got some extra time. He's taking his sweet time. We sharpen the weapon. Another guard break. Because we were greedy earlier, we did too many attacks and it got sketchy. Keep the weapon topped off. There we got greedy. That was a mistake. Here's another attack. This is this boss's most infamous attack. The tail is kind of strange. It's a very low energy attack, and then it suddenly grabs you and does significant damage. Anytime a boss does something weird that you don't know, run away. You don't know the timings. You don't know the tricks. That's okay. Just walk away from him. So we're punished with big damage because we got hit by the grab. Now we have to heal. Make some space and we heal. We notice in that spot, he jumps in the air and he comes down, and the electrical effect on the ground, it hits. So we can block that and keep ourselves in a good position to attack. We can use this technique in other moments, such as when he phase shifts. You can walk into it and simply block it and then start doing damage immediately. We're doing okay, but not great. Half life with 1 heal left, but our health bar is almost full. Now what's interesting here is that in phase 2, when he slams the ground, it creates this delayed electrical strike. Most attacks take too long, and even though you hit him, you get struck back. But I discovered that a light attack and then a dodge allows you to do some damage and then evade the lightning. Right now, he's ready for groggy, so I go for a fully charged heavy attack to inflict the stun-like status. I do take damage, but because it was a groggy opening, I just went for it. That was the greed paying off. Not successful, but definitely doable. We know it's possible. A lot of people, when they play Souls games, when they go to the boss, there's usually some run-up to the boss. A lot of people simply run past the enemies. I used to do that. Now, I generally fight the enemies on the way. And the reason why is because it gives your brain some time to decompress and think about what you've seen. And also, as you attack enemies and kill them, then you gain more experience, you gain more drops. And Lives of P is especially generous because when you die, your souls or ergo is left outside the boss door. So when you collect a lot, you can just simply go back and level up. And those little stat bumps over time will accumulate and help out against the boss. Now sometimes your run up there is just bad. You need to restart. That's okay. Reset and try again. Alright, attempt 3. I just want to emphasize, I've beaten this boss several times. I really enjoyed the demo. This boss is actually pretty good, even by Soul standards. And I have experience with his moveset and that sort of thing. But again, I'm trying to play as if I'm not quite familiar with it. Now that's interesting. When he was starting a new combo, and we struck him with a light attack, there was like an explosion that like stunned the enemy. A lot of times in Souls games, big bosses will have like certain breakpoints that are like pre-scripted that will interrupt the enemy. It looks like at about the 1/4 mark of his health bar missing. It gets like a malfunction. If you can capitalize on this, do so. Another thing too, don't get so focused on recovering all the health possible. It's okay to let the boss just hop away. Just grab what you can. Sometimes when the boss makes space, you can use this time to buff or sharpen the weapon, mentally reset or something. Make a decision like, should I use some of the blue juice or should I use a heal? It doesn't have to always be aggression. We use our last heal. One thing you want to keep in mind about heals in this game, if it's your last heal especially, because when you have 0 heals, doing damage to enemies recharges 1 heal, it's better to use the last heal earlier than you might use other heals, because the quicker you have no heals and do damage, the faster you'll get the next heal back. We got our heal back. This is a weird moment. I somehow got to the left of him and he was like grabbing where I was. I'm not sure if that was a glitch or something, but maybe you can move in a certain way during that grab where he just doesn't target you very well. Either way, we get around him and we do more damage. Now he's very close. This is a classic time to panic and mess up. Just stick to the basics. We need space, we sharpen, but we don't gotta go to the top, right? We're really close to killing him. And there we go. Now, of course, I don't know the full game. I don't know if it's possible to play the entire game this way. But what I do know is we beat a difficult boss. We didn't summon, we didn't upgrade our weapons, and we used this deliberate kind of steady block strategy tempo thing against the boss using the basic second tier mechanics in the game, and we beat him. The point I'm making is, I think it's more doable than people think it is. If you break it down in a way, I had to learn these things slowly over time. Because when I first tried Souls games, it was like an absolute slog, and now I love them. I'm very excited for Lies of P. I'm very excited for Lords of the Fallen. I'm very excited for the Elden Ring DLC. Hopefully that was informative and encouraging, and I'll see you next time.